Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. I hope everybody's having a great day. I'm on the way. I got to go back. Finally, my truck is finished being worked on. I have an EcoBoost F-150. It's got the twin turbochargers and stuff. And the truck's been good to me until it hit about 150,000 miles. Unfortunately, they developed this coolant leak that goes to the turbocharger in the back of it. And it ends up being really, really difficult to get it squared away. Sorry, the guy just literally just ran across the road. He was actually picking up a board on the other side. It's kind of like, you don't like to see somebody running across the road when you're on the interstate flying at 70 miles an hour. Anyway, they got it fixed, and I'm gonna drop off this rental car and get my truck and things. I've got a lot of work I've got to do coming up, and definitely need my truck. So while I was riding up the road here this morning, I was listening to my guy, Attack. Attack is so good. He is that new generation of YouTuber. He has literally broken stories, giving you news before you hear it from 105.3 The Fan or any of the talking heads. When we were talking about last offseason, Dak Prescott, that lawsuit that came up, he actually knew the complainant's attorney from college and basically lets you know he's full of shit. So this morning, Attack was going through and apologizing, kind of going off on Micah Parsons and things, that a lot of fans were coming back at him because they figured that you don't like Micah and so forth. And see, I realized, and then I was listening to Mike Fisher this morning too, who was basically talking about Micah Parsons' brother Terrence, who's commenting on the progress of negotiations. Mike has been saying all the right things and all that, saying that they're having conversations. They haven't really got down to the nuts and bolts of actually negotiating, but they're communicating, which I dare say seems to be further along than what we usually have. Do we expect that they'll go ahead and get the contract done before March 12th, the beginning of the league year? Probably not. But what I would actually love to see, I would love to see just wake up one morning and it's announced we have Micah Parsons' contract done. It's signed, and here's the numbers. Instead of us having a long, drawn-out negotiation, trade Micah, this, that. I'm tired of it. Even though, I mean, that's literally cutting off my nose to spite my face. Because, of course, every turn and twist that happens is things to talk about in the off-season for YouTube. I get it. You want to have more drama to have things to talk about. But I'm tired of the drama. But see, I realized, listening to Attack this morning, he had said this famous quote that unfortunately is not used in its entirety. He said, we don't want a jack of all trades and a master of none. And I am going to really disagree with Attack on that one. Because, see, here's the thing. You're looking at a jack of all trades and a master of none. If I come to your house and you got a plumbing problem, got you covered. You got an electrical problem, you need some new circuits, got you covered. We need to do some framing, got you covered. You need some custom cabinets, got you covered. The way the whole saying actually goes is a jack of all trades and a master of none is better than a master of just one. Oh, shit! Think about that for a second. Think about that for a second. Because, let me give you an example. Let's say the electrician comes to your house and he is now running some extra circuits for you. You decide to get an electric car, right? And so he's got the panel in the basement and he's got to get the plug all the way outside. He starts drilling in your basement, sealing and things. He's cutting holes and stuff so he can pull the wire. You know, you're going to need probably a 50 amp circuit and all that. So he's got to run like 6 gauge wire, thick wire. So he's drilling big holes. And as he's drilling, he accidentally hits a water pipe. Oh shit. Now water is spraying all in the basement. Do something. I'm an electrician. You need to call a plumber. Now you got to call a plumber. You got to get another guy there on the job to do that job. It means you got to pay for that service call. You got to have the time for that guy to get there. In the meantime, your water main into the house, now some of them are 1 inch thick for some of these bigger mega mansions, is spraying water in the basement and flooding the mother humper, and you ain't got a sump pump. Now you're better off with the jack of all trades who understands how to turn the water off and can fix the pipe, or are you better with that master? Let me give you a different example. Let's say this. Micah Parsons is a jack of all trades on the field because he can rush from outside, he can rush from the one, he can cover guys if he has to, and he can play linebacker. So, he is a jack of all trades on the field. That jack of all trades is definitely better than, say, Dante Fowler, Dorrance Armstrong. Those guys are masters of one thing. So which one you want? Would you rather have the jack of all trades that I can do multiple things with, like Micah Parsons? Or would you rather have that master of one that's just a straight edge rusher? Because see, the thing is you're looking at a very unique individual. There are few and far between people who can do all those things. Like I like to think of myself like that. Because when I look at the red brick house, hey bro, I did the plumbing, I did the framing, okay, I did the cabinetry, I did the plastering of the walls, and I think that mother humper is a piece of artwork. Here's the second thing. I'm old, and when you're old, you remember things that happened in the past with nostalgia. You don't necessarily remember the bad things. You only remember the good things. And see, I remember how it used to be when I played football. We had 6 weeks of training camp, 2-a-day practices, fully padded. We hit, we tackled. It was like game intensity every single day. I remember Charles Haley in practice, get knocked to the ground, get up, dust the stand from the Omni Field at JMU off of him, and literally say, I'm going you up. And proceeded to hit our wingback about the hardest hit I have ever seen in my life in practice, and see him carried off on a stretcher to never play football again, and became a male cheerleader. Because practice was live. So when I go to training camp and I see what I see, don't like it. But this is a new age. It's different. Back in the day, Washington players, Cowboy players, it was literally war. They did not like each other. And the money was not there like it is now. Back in my day, players had jobs in the off season. Why? Because they didn't make shit playing football. They didn't. Seriously. Not like they do today. And so players didn't have the free agency where they could go to another team. Everything was about the team. Now, I'll never forget what Demario Davis said to me sitting in my house, in my man cave. I am an independent contractor. I get a 1099 and I'm a company of one. And this is where playing football is a job. It's seen as a job. You don't necessarily fall in love with the team that you're with. You recognize that can change at any point. And so your loyalty is to yourself and your coworkers. That's why Micah Parsons understands I'm only going to be here for a certain amount of time. I also have to be looking at what the next thing is. And Attack, Mike Fisher, me, we all understand how the game is played with social media. It's to get people to watch. People clickbait? Of course. You do that thumbnail that looks a little bit crazy to have people say, what the hell are they doing? Of course. And Micah Parsons is the same thing too. He recognizes if I say something about, hey, if I don't get a Super Bowl with the Cowboys by the time I'm 30, maybe I should join the Kansas City Chiefs, knowing that is going to strike a nerve and get people to watch. It's just the case. It's the reality of it. He's not the only one that does podcasts or YouTube and things like that. He's just the one that's mastered it and knows how to get the most out of it. He is the jack of all trades. And by him getting underneath your skin by saying something that really in the grand scheme of things doesn't matter, well, he's doing his job. And so even with Mike Fisher saying, Terrence, you need to shut up. Because Terrence is out here saying, giving details on Micah Parsons negotiations, and it's not going to happen here, this, that, and the other, and the family members are saying this, that, and the other, and so on, and that they're hurting the negotiations. If what family members said hurt negotiations, just remember what CeeDee Lamb's mom was talking about, how CeeDee Lamb needed to get away from the Dallas Cowboys, and that she wanted to see him with the Houston Texans. I believe he got paid, didn't he? Tad, Dak Prescott's brother, is always throwing shade at the Joneses in the organization. I believe Dak Prescott is the highest paid player in the NFL currently. I'm sure it's not going to be for long, but he is. Apparently, Tad in his big fat mouth, who's got podcasts too, didn't hurt Dak Prescott any. Pat Mahomes and his merry band of all kinds of shit around him, from his dad to his wife to his brother, ain't hurt him any. as well as Matthew Stafford's wife. Bro, nobody cares. It's great to talk about, great to have content on, but I would take 11s and their brother and their mother and their wife if they play like Micah Parsons on the field. Because you look back at guys like Dexter Manley. Oh, I hated Dexter Manley, even though he did name his daughter Dallas. I believe he lives in Dallas. He talked a lot. I'm going to clean Danny White's clock out. The only difference is it's nothing different than it used to be. The only difference is you have social media to blast that shit out there. And it's more in the eye. These things aren't any different than anything else. And Micah Parsons, don't be mad at the player because he's learned how to play the game and is playing it extremely well. He will get paid, and he will have people watching his podcast, and he will have a career when he's done with football. And trust and believe the Dallas Cowboys recognize that from a play on the field, they're better with Micah Parsons. And off the field, the controversy that Micah Parsons is good for them as well. Micah Parsons recognizes that had he been drafted by Cleveland, Carolina, that he wouldn't be the president of Bleacher Report. That nobody would care about his podcast. This is a symbiotic relationship. The Cowboys need Micah. Micah needs the Cowboys. And all of this stuff here is actually a good thing, because I've said this a couple times. Okay? You're not happy about all the things Micah does off the field. I've never been crazy about the podcast. And especially the way the season started before he got injured. Play on the field was not good. And when your play on the field is not good, that's when people talk. So there's B.I. Micah Parsons. Before the injury, where everything was like the Midas touch for Micah. Everything was easy those first 4 years. He didn't really have adversity. He gets injured, can't play after starting out the season. Terrible. Comes back from injury with a vengeance. And you look at the numbers that he had from after he came back, AI, after injury. AI Micah, I don't care how much he talked, if he gonna do that on the field. Talk away. And I'm hoping that this is a situation of D-Law. The reason why we ended up getting Taco Charlton was because we got desperate and we were drafting out of need, and we looked at it in defensive ends, edge rushers were flying off the board, and the Cowboys panicked because they didn't know what they had in DeMarcus Lawrence. DeMarcus Lawrence had, I think, 7.5 sacks his second year, but then had an atrocious season the next year. Suspended for PEDs for 4 games, got 1 sack, had back surgery. And people were thinking, maybe we wasted that pick on this guy. And lo and behold, that next season, he came out like gangbusters and became one of the best edge rush tackle, run-stopping edge rushers, and had 14.5 sacks. I hope that Micah Parsons, who's talking the talk, gets his contract, he gets it sooner, and he comes out and he explodes. Typically, what we've seen with players, they get the bag and their performance steps back. I'm going to say that CeeDee Lamb seemed like he grew throughout a turbulent season to become a better weapon. And I think when you get Dak Prescott back on the field, having gone through that adversity and things, and if the Cowboys are smart enough to get a number 2 wide receiver, you'll see him really blossom. And I hope the same thing with Micah Parsons after he gets his contract. Believe me, Micah Parsons ain't going nowhere. He's just not. And when I look back at all the mega trades that people keep talking about doing, the only one that stands out as one that was great work was Herschel Walker. And we've been waiting to see another one of those happen, and it just is not. Alrighty, good people, as always, you know I appreciate y'all, and I hope you're having a great day. And I'll see you guys on the road doing a lot of driving. But you guys helped me get about 25 miles up the road, so I appreciate it. Peace.